Samurai Champloo.
Ah, I see. I've got to admit you're much better than I expected.
Fine, let's get started.
Are you one of those so-called badasses?
100 dumplings!
Well, boys, you might say we're squat, aren't we? Mugen is the main guy. You got that?
Just hold on, you two! What about the promise you made not to kill each other?
Guess no matter how hard we try, fate's gonna keep throwing us back together!
Hi everybody, this is Kevin, and welcome to my review of the anime series Samurai Champloo, which was released back in 2005, and it's sort of the spiritual sequel to Cowboy Bebop, which came out in 2001. Well, I think these all came out a year earlier. This came out in 2004, but the English dub came out in 2005, and this is the Funimation Blu-ray with the, I guess, Funimation dub or whatever. And I actually did a video about maybe a month and a half ago showcasing a manga and Blu-ray haul, and I got this for $15 at Best Buy in like the little bins where they always have the on sale Blu-rays and DVDs, or rather, I don't even think they have DVDs anymore, but the Blu-rays. And it kind of bumming I don't have a slipcover for this, but this was a great series, man. This was actually recommended to me by one of my subscribers, Samuel I. Olkey, for a while, right after I did the Cowboy Bebop video 3 months ago. And he was saying, you know, you got to watch this. It's directed by the same person, excuse the pronunciation, Shinichiro Watanabe, who directed Cowboy Bebop and some other things, and was also like an executive producer on some of the Gundam OVAs and series. So that's pretty interesting, and you can really see the way he does things. It's terrific. And gonna be a spoiler-heavy video, so if you haven't seen the series, I suggest clicking away because I'm gonna talk about the ending and everything and all that's going on. So essentially, it follows three main characters. Really, people like to associate Mugen as the main character, but there's three characters, and they're all the main characters. And so Mugen, another comparison to Cowboy Bebop, is voiced by Steve Blum in the English dub. And I know a lot of the anime and manga people, they love to, you know, watch things subbed, but, you know, I'm sort of a normal manga and anime viewer, and I like the English dub and things, and it's just the way I am. So, but I do respect people who like the subs. Absolutely, that's the original material. And this is a damn good dub, just as Cowboy Bebop has a damn good dub. And I do appreciate like the corny dubs in other animes and stuff like that. So you have Steve Blum voicing Mugen, who's essentially, you know, the main character. You have another character, it's spelled Jin, but they pronounce it in the dub as Gene almost. And he's voiced by Kirk Thornton, who, and his voice sounded so familiar, it voices Gabumon in the Digimon films and series and stuff, which I thought was pretty funny. And then the third main protagonist is Fu, and she's voiced by Kari Walgren, who also voiced Ash in Final Fantasy XII, which I thought was pretty funny. So, as far as the characters go, you have Mugen, who's like this very reckless, and all these characters are loners, and sort of like the main overall theme of this show is finding your purpose in life. And all these characters are sort of loners because of their own life choices, and, well, not even directly or indirectly, in Fu's case anyway, and how they sort of come together. So you have Mugen, who's like this reckless dude who, you know, they're all well, Fu's not a samurai, but the two men are. And Mugen is this reckless samurai who's just going around causing trouble, looking to start fights with everybody. He's very, you know, capable of his skills, but he's a reckless dude, and you know, he doesn't really mess around. Jin is like the sort of solemn samurai who you learn about his past with his sensei, what happened there, and that's sort of why he's taken the path of exile. And then, of course, you have Fu, who's a young girl looking for the samurai with the scent of sunflowers. And they keep talking about that throughout the whole film. And eventually you learn, sorry, not the film, the anime. And eventually you learn that it's her father who she's looking for, the samurai who smells of sunflowers. And they all come together. It actually starts at the beginning. The first scene is an execution, well, the beginning of an execution between Mugen and Jin. And then it flashes back a little bit to how they met in the, it's not a bar, it's like a restaurant where Fu is working. And a bunch of like the men who, I guess the guy who's ruling that district or whatever, come in and they're causing a ruckus. And Mugen sees that. He's like, all right, if you pay me, I'll tell the guys to stop hassling you. And he starts fighting. And then Jin gets in there and they all start fighting. There's a big ruckus and they burn the building down. And then they have the execution. And if I'm not mistaken, the guy, it's not the Shogun, because the Shogun appears later. But whoever you would call the guy in charge of like the particular town or city. And also this is set back in like the 1600s in the Edo time period, which is interesting. There's a lot of historical references. I'm not really particularly versed in the historical works that they're pulling from, but they do make reference to it, particularly the sort of racism going on with like Europeans. There's a particular episode with a European from Holland, and the Japanese aren't really too fond of him. And then also another episode later on in the series, which is one of my favorites, is when the Americans come. They actually play baseball with them, which I thought was great. But anyway, one of the voice actors of like the heads of the towns or the city or whatever is Bo Billingsley, who voiced Jet Black in Cowboy Bebop. So I thought that was a great comparison as well. Again, the music in this is awesome. It's like the lo-fi hip-hop music. You sort of saw that in the intro there that I showed you. I found that on YouTube. I can link that. That's from Funimation's YouTube. And the music is phenomenal. Anytime there's a fight scene, there's certain scenes too where they have the samurais come in and they have their katanas, their sword, and they're like holding it like a microphone, and the one dude's like like doing beatboxing sounds, and I thought it was freaking hilarious, particularly because they're samurais in the 1600s, like they're really not doing that. And there's another one too where they're like carrying a thing of wood on their shoulder, and it's like a boombox almost. But it's episodic by nature. There's a few 2-part episodes, and at the end there's a 3-parter. In the beginning, I was kind of like, where is this thing going? Because Fu keeps talking, and I did love it. I really did love the series. I still rank Cowboy Bebop above it, but this is awesome. Definitely a 9.5 out of 10 if I have to rank it. But they're going about their journey. Gene and Mugen wanted to kill each other, but they agree to a truce because Fu flips this coin, and it lands tails, although later she says, it was heads or one or the other, and she lied about it. Like, if it's heads, you guys don't fight. If it's tails, you do fight. And they agree to accompany her on the journey for the search of the samurai who smells of sunflowers. And, they just have their misadventures. They run in with the Yakuza. And, you saw in the little intro scene that I showed you, too, that there was, like, some sex stuff going on, which I didn't really like in this series. Like, most of the sex scenes, which wasn't really too much, like, there was a few nip slips here and there, but it was dealing with, like, brothels and prostitutes. And what happens, I guess, back in that time period is, if the husband was in debt and had nothing to give, like, say he'd have to give his son or he'd have to give his daughter, and the daughter would work in the brothel as a prostitute. And it was pretty dark, if you ask me. But there's always, like, a funny running gag. Like, they never have any money. They're going place to place, and they're always starving. And then they have always, every episode, there's, like, a scene where they're all eating, and it's like, nom, 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 like, going really fast. And then Fu always, like, gets really fat. And there's this one part where these guys are like, oh, we saw a really fat girl. She kind of looked like you, except she was really fat. And Fu gets, like, all angry. And, a lot of the way Mugen and Gene are drawn, I guess, or, presented, that they look nice. They're appealing to look at. And same with Fu. She's very appealing to look at character. But a lot of the other characters that you see, particularly the women, honestly, don't look attractive at all. And a lot of the men, appearing as villains are, just grotesque looking and a lot of pervy looking dudes and stuff like that. Like, there's this one dude who's hitting on Fu, and he's just got all this bravado. It's just crazy. And anyway, so, there's sort of like a villain for each particular episode that they dispatch and they move on. But at the end there, they pull in some villains and enemies from prior arcs that they conclude with at the end, which I thought was cool. And so another part too, like, they had the European guy from Holland, which they were all like against him or whatever, because I guess they weren't too fond of the immigrants. And then it turned out they sort of threw in there that he was gay, which was kind of strange. And he came to Japan because he had, like, read a book about how, like, the Japanese were open about being gay or whatever. So I thought that was an interesting thing. Maybe I'll have to look into the historical context of that. They reference Vincent van Gogh and the fact that there's, like, an artist who's, like, painting Fu and selling the artwork or whatever. And, just some cool stuff overall. Then there's, like, a great 2-parter with Mugen's backstory and the fact that he was, like, working with pirates or whatever, and they were ransacking a ship and he was betrayed. And then at the end, the big villain turns out to be one of the people who they were raiding the ship of, and he had lost it. Well, no, the other guy lost an arm. This guy lost the eye. And the voice acting, like I said, the voice acting is terrific, particularly that villain at the end. I'm forgetting their names because they're all, like, Japanese, hard to pronounce names. All right, so yeah. I'm at the Wikipedia page. We'll go to that right there so you guys can see along with me. So just so I know the names, because like I said, they're kind of difficult for me to remember and pronounce. So Kazumi Cezo, he is the Fu's father. He's the guy, the samurai who smells of sunflowers, and he led this great rebellion, and the shogun was after him, wanting to kill him, and well, what happened too was he had abandoned Fu and her mother because of this particular thing. He didn't want to drag them into it, so he just sought out exile. And Fu, thought that, the father just left the mother all alone to die, because the mother on her deathbed said, look for your father, he's still alive. And that was the whole thing. And then this Inspector Manzo, he sort of appears as the narrator from time to time, which is kind of cool. There's another episode, too, where I have this tab open, too. I think it's like episode 6 or episode 7. This one, episode 7, A Risky Racket. So there's a dude who steals Fu's purse, right? And basically he's trying to steal all this money to save his sick mother. And it was very comparable to an episode in Cowboy Bebop where the dude, I think his name was Rocco. I think it was episode 7 or 8 as well. And he was working with this gang so that he could get money to help his sick sister. So I thought that was an interesting comparison as well. There was another scene, too, where they... here's the beatbox band. It's like the way they incorporated all the hip-hop stuff was really terrific. And just so many great... this episode, too, so 12, that's about halfway through. So... Gene and Mugen are like, what the hell are we even accompanying this woman for anyway? Like, what's the point? And I was sort of in that stage too, because like I said, each episode is sort of episodic in nature, in that you can sort of even watch them out of order. You really only need to watch the two-parters in order, sort of like Cowboy Bebop. You only have to really watch the Vicious episodes in order, and you can watch all the other ones in any sequence, at least after you get Ed, right? And, that one, they're going through her diary, trying to figure out, like, what the hell, who is the dude who smells like sunflowers? Like, what's the point, man? And then, they keep asking her throughout the journey. They're like, Fu, like, why? What are we even looking for? Oh, my mother just said we gotta find him. And then eventually she spills the beans that it is her father. Like, towards the end of the series, it's like, yeah, we're looking after my father. Great action scenes. Anytime there's an action scene, it's terrific. A lot of fake outs, like, towards the end there. Let me show you, get the title of the Evanescent Encounter. So they eventually go up against this guy, Kariya Kagetoko, who is working for the Shogun, and he's tasked with, 1, killing Gene, because Gene had killed his master way back when, and, seeking revenge for that, and 2, taking out Kazumi and, his offspring, Fu, and so on and so forth. And there's a great fake out death where I honestly thought that Gene had died. Like, just the way he struck him down at the end there, and then Gene falls into the water. I'm like, oh, fuck, man. Because honestly, Gene, I keep calling him Jin because it's spelled Jin, but it's pronounced Gene. He was my favorite character. I thought he was the most badass. He had a particular arc as well in one episode where he wanted to save this woman from the brothel, and eventually did. And she was basically sent to work in the brothel because her husband was a gambler and had his debts, and that was all he had to give to pay his debts. He had to give up his wife. There was another arc where the dude had to give up his son. It was an eye for an eye. That's how the Yakuza work. And this Evanescent Encounter, then there was this epic battle between the guy who Mugen had fought on the pirate ship way back when, who lost an eye, and he has like this scythe that he throws the scythe, and it's got like a chain, and it was like crazy, man. And his laugh, the voice acting from that character, I'll have to go back to the list of characters to figure out his name. He was absolutely, terrifying. Let's see. It's not... See, I'm forgetting the names, because the names were just kind of difficult for me to remember. But you get the idea. If you guys have seen it, you already know. And I'm just kind of... If you haven't seen it, I mean, why are you watching this video? You got to watch the spoilers. But, and then he had the other associate of his who was in a wheelchair after the accident and had like a peg leg and was just sort of sitting there drooling. And at the end, where it looked like Mugen had defeated him, the dude has like these bombs that he throws out there and blows Mugen up. And then I thought Mugen had died. I'm like, holy shit, dude. And then Gene comes back. He makes it to the island where the man who smells of sunflowers is, where Kazumi is, and is ready for one last stand against the guy working for the shogunate. And they duel and they defeat him. And then so Fu finds her father, right? She finds him in the end, and he's lying on his deathbed, you know, basically, and he spills the beans that he was sent to live in exile just because he wanted to save his daughter and his wife from the Yakuza and the Shogunate. And, you know, he tells her that he loves her, and then Kazumi, working for the Shogunate, kills him. And it's devastating. Really, there's a lot of humor in the series, sort of like Cowboy Bebop has a lot of humor, but towards the end, like, I had a tear in my eye, man. I was like, Fu gets beaten. Oh, it's horrific. And then just the beating that Mugen and Jean take, and I thought the two of them died. I really did. I thought they were going to pull, like, you know, killing Spike at the end, although that is sort of ambiguous in what you think of that. And a great happy ending to the fact that Jean actually concedes the fact that, you know, for the first time in my life, I actually have friends, and that's, like, the overall theme, like, finding purpose in your life. And they agree to have friends, and then, of course, the whole reason why they were tagging along, because Jean and Mugen wanted to fight each other, and at the end, they're like, we need to settle our score, and they both draw their blades, and they attack him, and both their blades break, and it was sort of signifying the end of that, and I guess the start of their friendship. And it ends with them in a fork in the road, all three of them going their separate ways, which I was kind of disappointed in, because, you know, they just had their great speech for the first time ever they all have friends. It's like, then be friends, but, you know, it's sort of like how Cowboy Bebop ended. This is a better ending, I feel like. As far as the Cowboy Bebop ending, it's depressing, because we never find out what happens with Jet or Faye. With here, you see these three characters who have a new lease on life. I mean, Fu is still very young. She's on the wiki page, it tells them their ages. So, Mugen's 19, Jean is 20, and Fu is 15. So they're all young anyway. So they kind of make Jean appear to be like an old man. But they did mention one of the dudes who was like 40, and he was like, I'm an old man. And yeah, but and also I sort of skipped over talking more about the end, but one of my favorite episodes was the baseball episode. They're playing baseball, and like there's like 5 people on the Japanese team, and the Americans are playing dirty, keep knocking them all out. So then it's just left to Mugen, and all he's doing, he's just throwing the ball at 100 miles an hour, just trying to hit him in the face. It's just freaking hilarious. I thought that was great. There's a lot of great humor in the series, but at the end it gets dark, and I had a tear in my eye, like when Fu was getting beat. And when I thought Jean and Mugen had died, I'm like, oh, Christ, they're going to pull another depressing end similar to how they did with Cowboy Bebop. But I loved it. I still, I think for nostalgia purposes, prefer Cowboy Bebop because I've seen it more times. But binge this in 2 days. Absolutely fantastic. Look in your Best Buy for the bins, and I'm sure you can find it online for cheap. Absolutely terrific. 26 episodes, so it's very watchable. They're like 22-minute episodes. And like I said in my Final Fantasy thing, when I was talking about that last week, I'm sort of taking a break from video games now and going into anime. And another series I'm going to watch, which I'm going to start shortly, is Trigun, which I've seen before. This is a DVD that I've had for years. Like, look at how beat up it is. This came out I watched this on Adult Swim back in the day. The Ballad of Vash the Stampede. He's coming right for us. And, again, 26 episodes, so I can watch this relatively shortly. And there's actually another anime that... It's also a manga. Of course, most anime is manga. But it's a manga from a creator that I've been praising on the channel for some time and reviewing those books. And I'm going to delve into that long, well, it's since ended, but long series. And we'll see how that goes, too. But I wanted to do another short anime before that. And I'm going to watch Trigun. Probably not going to binge it in 2 days, but, you know, maybe in a week or so. And have a review on that in the coming weeks. So let me know what you thought of Samurai Champloo. Like I said, I literally just finished watching it, and I'm sorry about the character names because a lot of it is hard for me to understand and hear the pronunciations, especially because a lot of the characters you only see for 1 or 2 episodes, whereas, you know, Mugen, Jean, and Fu, you hear their names a million times. Same with Kazumi, who's the, you know, samurai who smells of sunflowers. The music's phenomenal. There's a few early episodes that I was kind of like, where is this going? But once you get the two-parters and the 3-parter at the end are all terrific. And there's certain standouts like the baseball episode, the episode when they meet the man from Holland. That's when they have the eating competition too. The one episode with Jean helping the woman from the brothel, and just a lot of terrific stuff. So I can't recommend it enough. I'm sure you can definitely find it online too. Sail the seas, but definitely support the release if you're into, you know, top tier anime. And yeah, from 2004 2005. Dubbed in 2005, and it was on Adult Swim. I'm surprised I missed it back in the day because I watched Adult Swim back in the day, so it was on 2005. I don't know. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and stay tuned for more videos coming soon. Have a great day, everybody.